Hey, hey! It is a Thursday with myself on Mastermind. This is the Hot Seat. Welcome to another episode. As you know, on the Hot Seat, we have ordinary South Africans, Africans that are doing extraordinary things, man. Today is not different, man. We've got a creative, an activist, an entrepreneur. When I say creative, she does a lot. So she's a presenter, producer, director, but most of all, she's the commissioning editor of Mnet. A lot of people, have problems in terms of uh, distributing their content into how does content get into Mnet? How does content get into Mzansi Magic and all of that? I've got the exact person today. I'm going to ask her that and more, man. I would like to find out where she comes from. Where did it all begin, man? Her name is Flavia Motsisi. Hopefully, I said that right. Flavia,
Hi,
Flavia, hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm super, super, super great. We've been trying to do this for some time. However,
Yeah.
I blame myself because we never really pinned down the day and the time.
Yeah, no, but we're here now, so it's cool.
That's cool, man. How was your day?
Busy. I am currently doing an international program, and we are scattered all over the world, so our time zones
Mhm.
are all over the place. I literally just finished the call, well, a workshop now around 30 minutes ago. So I'm tired, but I'm excited to be chatting with you tonight.
Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. We're gonna take it back. We get before we get to what you do now because you do a lot. Where's home and Utsakai, if I'm gonna say, Motswana, Mopedi. Where did it all begin?
Okay. So I am part Tswana. My mom is from Zurich and part Mozambique, and my dad is from Mozambique. I grew up, was born in the Northwest, grew up around Joburg,
Mhm.
all over around Joburg. Yeah, and I identify as Tswana because I was brought up by my mom, but I'm actually a trophy Mozambican girl. Yeah.
Wow, amazing stuff, amazing stuff. Now, growing up as a young kid, what did you want to do, and what enticed you or interested you back in the days?
So when I grew up, I wanted to be in the medical space. I mean, I wanted to save people's
Yeah.
lives. And it's the irony is that now I entertain people, which is totally different, but okay,
Hmm.
we here.
Yeah.
I decided to go into the medical space. I actually, in actual fact, within my first year of varsity, went to UJ for radiography because I wanted to go into that radiologist space and do X-rays and focus on the
Hmm.
medical field. But due to fees, I couldn't complete the year, and I ended up corresponding at Tunisia doing something totally unrelated. Um, and then I guess in that year, everybody could see that I wasn't happy and I hadn't found my passion. So they then
Yeah.
suggested maybe I go, try out acting and go study drama. That's when I went to film school, got in there initially for drama and acting, but fell in love with storytelling. And cut a long story short, this is where I'm at now.
Now, you spoke about you falling in love with the medicine field and all. I mean, we all know our parents, how are they, like they don't really get to understand entertainment and everything. That conversation that you had with your parents in terms of you saying, I'm doing this, but hey, uh, my love and interest is not into it. Did you have that conversation, or they just saw you changing and going to do entertainment?
I mean, I'm very blessed in the regard that I didn't have to have the conversation. What happened was when I was corresponding during that year, I've always been an overachiever. And so my marks weren't really on par with what my mom knew I could achieve. So I was passing, but
Yeah.
just scraping by. And she and my sister are the one that had the conversation with me. Actually, my sister had the conversation with me and my mom and said, Flavia does not look happy. Let's take her
Flavia does not
to.
look happy. Let's take her to.
Sorry, I'm getting some feedback. I'm not sure if you're able to hear me on your end. So I can hear you talk. I can see you talk, but I can't hear.
Are we back? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can.
Perfect, perfect. Yes. You can carry on. You were saying
I forgot what we would. What was I saying?
you were talking about being blessed with parents that you didn't have to explain.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah. So my mom, I mean, she brought me up. Like I was raised by a single mom. I mean, she was a single parent, and
mhm.
so when they saw that I wasn't happy, my sister had suggested I go study acting, and she was very supportive. And she then said, "Yes, leave whatever, and let's find you something you'll be happy with." And I went to film school, rocked up at film school. It was super expensive.
Mhm.
And she was so supportive. She was like, "Let's do what you need to do," to the point whereby she sold her house and her car just so I could go to film school because it was incredibly ridiculous. It still is in terms of fees. So I never had to have that conversation. I've always grown up in a space where I can fully express myself, and I think that is truly attributed to my character and how free I am and how assertive I am, because I just grew up in a household where I was able to just be myself. Yeah.
Amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. Now you spoke about being raised by a single parent. Your father not being around. Was he around in your life? Was he part of your life, or he was not around at all? And what do you think your life would have been different if your father was part of your life? If he wasn't?
I mean, me and my dad, we have a very complex relationship. They had separated whilst I was very young, and I would see him
Yeah.
perhaps once a year when I go visit for school holidays, but we weren't really that's as much as I would see him. And that only started later on, perhaps in my like mid-teens or early teens, if I could put it that way. But my mom was still very much the person taking care of me. I was raised by an incredibly strong, entrepreneurial, assertive, powerful woman. She's a pastor.
Wow.
She's never worked for anyone. She was one of the first Black women to own a salon in a very staunch Afrikaans town. She's very, like, always doing stuff. So I think I definitely would have been different now if I had both my parents, or if my dad was more involved. Me and my dad have rekindled our relationships in the past few years, and it's been great. But my mom very much groomed who I am. I don't think I would have been the go-getter I am now if I had both my parents to
Yes.
be around at the same time. I don't think I would have worked hard and be as resilient as I am. So I'm actually happy it panned out and played out the same way, the way it did, because that highly contributed to my character and to my drive and just my outlook in life.
Amazing stuff. And actually, that played it well in a way because, I mean, it's easier to speak to your mom about a guy if there's a guy that just approaches you and you're starting to grow and all of those things. It must have been easy for you. I mean, coming to my mom, hey, mama, hey, there's this guy, man, asking me out. What should I do? All of those things.
No. Have you met an African mom? We don't
I
talk
know
to
very
boys.
well.
Boys don't exist.
They're very strict,
Yeah,
especially a pastor. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah,
Very, very
yeah,
strict.
yeah.
Now, you studying drama and film and all of those things. Did you know exactly what you wanted to do in terms of story? You spoke about storytelling. You fell in love with storytelling. Did you know exactly what you want to do, which field, or you just dived right into it and then you started doing research while you were in it?
I mean, I literally walked in there thinking I'm going to act and that's what I'm going to study. And I was forced to
Yeah.
take three other subjects for the first year because that's just how the curriculum works. By default, I
Mm,
decided to take directing, writing, and television production as well, in addition with acting. By the time I got to second year, I was like, acting needs to go because everything else from writing, directing, and television production is my what I love. I think there's so much power for stories we have as a country, as a nation, as Black people. There's so much African nuances and rich stories that we can tell.
mm,
And to have the ability to learn how to tell the stories and have them reach the masses, that really excited me. So I didn't grow up thinking I'm going to be in the film and television industry. I didn't walk into film school thinking that I'm going to be behind the scene. And I most certainly
mm.
didn't, it wasn't something that I just fell into. I just gradually, organically, I ended up falling in love with it. And I don't see myself doing anything else now.
Amazing stuff. It's difficult for I've got friends that studied drama and film and everything. How difficult was it for you to actually go or rather send emails in terms of your CV looking for a job?
I mean, my story is the grace of God has always been prevalent and, very visible in my life. During
Mhm.
that period when I was studying, like I said, Mom, we had to give up our house because that's the only way I could
Yes.
pay tuition. And
Mhm.
obviously, we then lived in very not the best conditions, and life was tough as it were. At some point, the
Yes.
money even ran out, and I needed to start paying
Ish.
more school fees. I think towards third year, fourth year. And so around second year, I was just like, if my mom is going to sell her house and her car, this better work. And I'm seeing a lot of people who graduated the year before are still looking for work, they're interns, they that, and I didn't want that for myself. So again, being raised by a
Mhm.
very strong hustler mom, I ended up from second year up until I did my honors, I was just interning everywhere. I mean, I studied at AFDA. AFDA is right close to the SABC. It's right close at the time. Quizzical Pictures was called Curious Picture. It was right next door. Atlas Studio was there was just like a hub of production houses and broadcasters around me, and I was like, I'm just gonna go knock at every door and
Mhm.
just say, hey, I'm a film student. Please, can I come and make tea and coffee on set? Just so I can get exposure. You don't have to feed me, you don't have to pay me. I just want to help you clean up, make coffee, do whatever I need to do, but I just need exposure. And so that sort of attitude gave me a lot of exposure to productions around where I would find myself
Mhm.
interning in a lot of productions. And one of those productions was Mnet, when it was for one of the Mnet Magic Factory back in the day when it was called Magic Factory Channels. And they were shooting a telenovela. Um, and I had asked to just come on board. It was so far, it was somewhere they were shooting in Haftebius. Um,
Wasn't
since
it
call
Chisa?
time, pardon?
Wasn't it Chisa, the production? Sorry to stop you there.
No. It was an Afrikaans channel. It was an
Oh.
Afrikaans telenovela, and but it was during those periods.
Mm.
I mean, I like literally call time was 5 a.m. I needed to be at Randburg at Mnet at 5 a.m. I lived all the way in the East Rand. I needed to take taxis around 3, 4 a.m. just so I could make it in time. Like they would wrap really late. I needed to hustle away to get back home. Like it was just a mess, but I did it, and I was just like, I'm just gonna do it. And I guess they really loved my work ethic because when I did my third year, they then asked, "What's up? What's happening with you?" And I was like, "No, I'm gonna pursue my honors." And so when I
Yes.
pursued my honors, Mnet then calls again and they're like, what's up? And I'm like, no, well, after pursuing my honors, I'm going to work back at AFDA and teach. And so then during my honors year, we needed to do practicals. So I went back to Mnet for a day, to intern for a day. And to cut a long
Mhm.
story short, after lecturing for a couple of months, I then got a job at Mnet to join the Afrikaans team for commissioning, and that's how I got my job. So essentially, at the time, I had already started making films and a lot of stuff, my own sort of like indie projects, and I would enter them into festivals. Um, I thought I was going to go that route where I was going to be an independent producer, director, writer, because, they would make festival runs and win all these accolades nationally,
Yes.
around the continent, and globally as well. So I was like, that's the route I'm going to go. Once I'm done teaching, that's what I'm going to pursue. But then I got roped into the broadcasting space. And whilst I was in the broadcasting space, I was like, this is really great, but I still want to learn and equip myself. So I then joined some writing and
Yes.
film labs. At first, I did a writing course at NFVF. It was called the Sidiba Spark, right? A writing course. And I came in there for script editing, sort of like that for script editing. Again, I was doing this whilst I was already at Mnet. And then once that was done, it was a 5-month program. I then joined the Talents Berlinale program, where you write a whole, like a whole project or a piece or whatever, and then they select a few Africans, and then you become a part of that film lab. Again, I'm still working at it, but I'm still hustling, and I'm doing this on the side. There's no money
On the
involved.
side,
It's
yes.
development. So I end up doing it, and I get in. I think I wrote a telenovela at the time, and they really liked it. It was the first year where they actually accepted television stuff. We went through the mentorship program, and then towards the end of the mentorship, you get into a room full of broadcasters, networkers, film buyers, funders, and you pitch. And so I pitched, and after pitching, I get this guy ripping Netflix. At the time, Netflix wasn't a thing in Africa, and he was just like, he really would like to develop my script. And then I got other offers to get other programs. Then I went back to work, and I was like, guys, I know I said this was just for development, but now it seems like people want to really take me on as a writer, and they want to, develop my work. And because I think at the Afrikaans channels, they saw that I had a zeal to tell stories. They were just like, no, please don't take the deal from Netflix. Don't pursue writing. We'll promote you. And that's literally how I just grew in the company, where they literally gave me a position, and I just grew. And then after a few years, I moved on to Mzansi Magic. And again, it's been a beautiful journey. So that's been my experience, which is very non-conventional and very different from people I went to school with, because there's people I graduated with. We did our degree together, we got our honors together. They've been working, but it's hard to get work. And there's people who are really talented and they don't have work, or there's people who are really talented. It's just hard. So I know I am not the average or normal type of story. And so I always give that backstory that I had to hustle my way before I even needed to hustle. Whilst my peers were partying, living it up, doing whatever they did, I interned whilst I was studying. You know what I mean? And even when I got the big job, or whatever you may call it, I still put myself out there to show my employers that there was more to me than what they saw. And I guess I'm just giving that backstory that it's a very hard industry to be in, and it's not easy to get stuff. And for me, I just believe that you just keep doing your own until someone comes, instead of knocking and waiting for people to give you a job,
Wow, what an amazing story. I'll let you speak, because a lot of people think it's easy. You just go and study, you just apply, and whatever. They're like, hey, open up the industry, open up the industry. People are hustle out there. It's how much you want it. I remember. I'll tell you a brief about my story as well. When I was studying at the time, first year, I'm just like, I don't wanna get bored in class. So the best thing that I need to do, I need to go somewhere where there's media work, that I can learn this thing, so that it's easier for me to be able to concentrate in class. And that's what I did. While my peers are waiting for them to finish, then they can go and intern. I think a lot of people need to learn that. They need to go and intern before you even finish, because that helps you
I
with
respect
experience.
that so
It
much.
helps
Yeah,
you.
I respect that so much. Yeah.
Yes, and it gets you ready for the workplace, in terms of that. Now you working, you're doing all of these things, and some of them are paying, some of them are not paying, some of them are not paying enough, and everything. The conversation that you're having with your mother, is she positive at that point? Even if she is positive, did she even see that one day you'll be the commissioning editor? I mean, our parents don't even know what we're gonna get to. What is the commissioning editor? Did she even see all of that happening?
I think that's such a brilliant question because I mean, no one has ever asked me that. I mean, I'm like, I'm a tiny girl. I've got a small frame.
Mm-hmm.
I'm my mom's baby. I'm the last born. So for me to wake up at 3 a.m. whilst she's now like sacrificed everything, she sold her house, she sold her car. We're living in this back room. And I'm just like, I'm gonna wake up at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. and I'm like, Ma, I'm gonna take a taxi and I'm going to sit. No, they don't pay me. I need taxi money. But you're still
Yes.
hustling for school fees and I'm just gonna go intern. It didn't make sense to her. Of course we fought. She didn't, it
Yeah.
wasn't safe. It cost her more money. It didn't make sense because she, according to her, she was paying for the best education, which was, our parents are, once you've studied, you're gonna get the job and everything will be fine. So she was like, we've done our part. Why are you forcing matters? I
Mm.
remember there was a point whereby I think third year when all the money had now dried up, she was now paying school fees monthly, and also it was a hassle. So I think I spent the whole term not being able to go to school because I was locked out. But I think the first few days, I still forced myself to go because I would literally just go into my friends' booths and then drive in with them in the booth and then just sneak myself into class until someone comes and pulls me out and say, well, you can't be in class. So I would do stuff like that. And I would get home and cry. And she'd be like, but where are you going?
Yeah.
Why are you going? We haven't paid up. Why do you put yourself through that? Why do you have to intern? Why are you doing another course whilst you have the job? It was so hard for her to understand. It took us a couple of years, only when she started seeing the fruits, for her to see that I was planting the seed. I mean, currently I'm in a good position. I'm a commissioning editor, but I'm still doing a program that I just told you about. I'm still doing a program. I'm
Yes.
in the global program for producers around the world, and I'm like, I still want to learn and I still want to do that. There's absolutely no reason in people's eyes for me to do it, but for me, I'm just like, I need to grow. And now she's more
Mm.
supportive, and family gets to know now that for me, I believe that I think as Black people, we are in such a rush to achieve things, and we are in such a rush to get to this position and to get money and to get whatever. And sometimes we are our worst
Mm.
enemies because if you get something in a rush and you're not equipped for it, you're gonna fall and crumble. And I always want to
So
be
true.
as knowledgeable as possible. I always want to earn everything that I receive. So I don't know. Yeah, she wasn't supportive, but now she gets it. But it was a constant fight and it was very difficult. And no one has ever asked me this, but I'm so glad that I pushed myself to that extent because otherwise I would have ended up like some of my peers, jobless, sitting at home with a
Mm-hmm.
whole honors degree and, nothing to do.
Wow. Because I know and understand because I kind of went through the same journey with my parents whereby I couldn't understand. We're giving you money, but when you come back, you're asking more money. We thought you're going for a job. You said you're going for this job. You're going to intern. You work at
Yeah.
the market theater for 4 years. You're not coming back with anything. What are
Wow.
you saying to us? We are paying for this thing. So
Yeah.
I kind of get where your mother was and what your mother was thinking at the time because
Mm.
she paid for school fees.
Yeah.
You understand? Now she has to pay for this thing as well. So it must have been difficult. Now we're
It
gonna get
came
to
from a
your
good
job.
place, though. It came from a good place, and I understand where she's
Definitely,
yeah.
definitely, because she's worried on they're using
Yeah.
her. They're using her. Probably she doesn't
Yeah.
see that, and you see the vision. You know what you're doing. You know exactly what you want and where you're headed. Now you're doing all of those things, and then this opportunity comes in to being a commissioning editor of an Afrikaans channel or program, for lack of a better word. You're a black girl. Um, how difficult was it to work for an Afrikaans, production?
So, I mean, when I went into the Afrikaans channels, I definitely didn't start as a commissioning editor. I first of all started as an assistant, commissioning assistant, and then
Yes.
became a junior commissioning editor, and then moved on as I proceeded. It was, I mean, part of what I didn't say is that, you know, we had a very hard life growing up, and so like for the bulk of my life, you know, school fees was just something that just was not affordable. You know what I mean? And
Yes.
the only schools that would be able to subsidize me and give me free education were the Afrikaans schools, because they had those models in place. So I found myself from grade one to matric going to an all Afrikaans school. At first, it started as a temporary thing. And then this me being stubborn, when I think when my mom was starting to hassle and she was like, let's take you to an English school, I think around grade two, grade three, I was like, no, I want to stay because I don't feel like learning English. I've learned Afrikaans and I'm happy and I'm just going to stay in it. So I studied in Afrikaans medium from grade one till matric, solely because of
Okay.
circumstance. And that
Yeah.
helped me in terms of the language design, right? When I moved on to
Mm.
Mnet, I had to literally read scripts in Afrikaans, give feedback in Afrikaans, sit in meetings in Afrikaans. Yes, definitely be the only black girl in that space. Again, I'm happy that happened because it taught me a lot about my self-worth. It taught me a lot about having to assert myself in spaces where I didn't look like I was supposed to be there, and in spaces where I
Mm-hmm.
was the youngest person. To date, I'm still the youngest commissioning editor in my team, but that doesn't really get to me because I think being at the Afrikaans channels really groomed me to toughen up and be my own person and believe that my creative voice matters, you know. So it
Yes.
was difficult, but it was good. I learned a lot about broadcasting. I learned a lot about myself. And it was a great space to center myself into who I was as a person, you know. By the time I went to the LEC channels, like literally,
Mm-hmm.
I had a sense of self, you know. I didn't have to conform to anyone. I didn't have to succumb to any peer pressure. I was just myself. Yeah.
Wow. And a lot of people now that are, oh, what the people that will watch this probably think these guys have been mentioning the same name, commissioning editor, commissioning. I don't know. I'm interested. What is commissioning editor? What is the day of a commissioning editor? What do you do?
So, commissioning editor, we work in broadcasting, and essentially what we do, we project managers, if you would call it that. I think that's the best way to explain it. And our
Mm-hmm.
role is to go look for concepts, create stories, originate, source out stories. People pitch to us, and we sort of decide what goes on air, how it goes on air, and make sure that the viewers are happy with the content. So essentially, you will write a concept, you will pitch it to a broadcaster, a commissioning editor will read, see whether it fits the market, commission you, meaning give you the contract, and then guide you and walk the whole process with you from development, production, and post production, ensuring that the production is aligned with the broadcast standards and that the viewers are happy. So I hope that makes sense.
Wow. You put it, it's straight to the point, even if there's a deeper meaning to that. But I think this is exactly what people will be looking for. Now, you spoke about you deciding and looking at those. How many pitches do you receive? I won't say a day, a month, and you go through all of them. And you sometimes think, "Ish, okay, or maybe if anga change ala we can give this production a chance."
Yeah, we go through like thousands a week. Um, that's just the influx that comes in. We do go through all of them because we are always looking for stories. Um,
Mm,
most of them are not good because one, people don't watch the platform and they just want to write what they want to write, and people don't think about the audiences. So it's just about what they want to do, and that's it. And for us, we have to make sure
mm,
that it makes sense for the viewer. Or sometimes we get proposals of stuff that's already been on air, and we just like, then what's the point? So yes, if for us it's about story. And I think that's what people
mm,
don't understand. We don't want full scripts. We don't want you to have fully developed something because nobody's got time to read that. And also we develop and we go through the development process with you. What we want is a great concept, something that has potential. and it's very rare to find something that's perfect already. So we
Mm.
work off potential. If the story is good, because story is key. If the story is good, it makes sense, it's different, it's fresh, it speaks to our audiences, then we call you in for a pitch and we give notes, and then the process then begins.
Wow, that's amazing. And how does the process start in terms of? There's a lot of guys that I know that they feel you guys are giving only the Fergusons a chance, and the Fergusons, Siriti, the rest, they're always getting a difference. Um, I tend to differ. I've got my own understanding in terms of that. Now, what's your take on that? I'm sure you've seen that. I'm sure you've heard that. Uh, and what are you guys trying to do to actually kind of give young and upcoming producers?
So for us, it's about, again, like I said, it's about the audiences. It's not
Mm.
about who we like, who we don't like, and whatever. In the case, we go through proposals on a weekly basis, like I said, from everybody, and everybody's welcome to submit. But again, at times the quality of the proposal is not good. The story is not there. It's a repetition of what we've already seen. It's not appealing to the mass audiences. Um, or there's just so many factors that we just like, but this won't work. Obviously,
Mm.
if you've gotten a commissioning deal from us, whether it be it for a drama series or a telenovela or a movie, to some degree, to some extent, you would start understanding what the DNA of the channel is, which makes it easier for you to resubmit and work according to strategy. I hope that makes sense.
Mm.
And that's why you will
Mm.
find people who have worked with us giving us better and better and better proposals and better shows, because they now understand the DNA of the channel and they understand what the audiences want. That's the advantage they have. So then to the public, it might seem like we're giving the same people the same stuff, but perhaps at the time,
Yes.
those are the only good proposals we're receiving, which is the case. Um, what I tend to tell people a lot is we get proposals from people who don't even watch our channels. Like, I don't watch TV, but I want to submit something for TV. I don't really like the stuff you put out, but I want to come and put out stuff. I think what you guys are doing wrong, but I want to give you a proposal. You know what I mean? If you already come with
Mm.
a sense of, first of all, you can't antagonize your funder. I think that's not a good way to start a relationship with someone. So if you're gonna start
So true. Yeah.
writing a proposal and you're gonna say, the problem with South African television is that it doesn't have X, Y, and Z, and I'm here to come and change it. You already outright saying you guys don't know what you're doing and I'm gonna come and fix it for
Yeah.
you, which is not a good, you know what I mean? Instead of saying,
Mm.
have you heard of this wonderful story that's never been told before, and we think that it will work for the market because X, Y, and Z. I will tell you now that despite the fact that we go through thousands and hundreds and however many proposals every week, the type of stuff we get is, first of all, very faulty. It's not professional. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's very rushed. Sometimes it's a copy and paste of something we've already seen.
Yes.
The stories don't make sense for a mass audience. It's too niche. And for us, we have to think that we cater for mass. So whoever's watching the TV is probably watching with a younger generation, middle generation, and older generation. It needs to make sense for all those people. But if you're just gonna write a story for teenagers and you think it's the most amazing story, unfortunately for us, it's not commercially viable. So we can't take it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's never personal and it's never about who you are. We love hearing new voices. We so wish that we could get more stories from new voices, but it's just that sometimes
Mm.
it's too artistic and it's not commercial, or it's a repetition of what we already have, or there is actual physical problems with the actual proposals that can't, if we're going to go through so many, at least have a professional proposals with the correct grammar and the correct spelling, have a log line, have a synopsis, have all that stuff. We give guidelines on what we want. Sometimes the stuff we get is incomplete, and so we'd rather just move on because it's a huge volume of stuff that we have to go through.
I think you explained it thoroughly. Now let's go to the process. Now, Do they submit online? Is there a specific email that they need to send to? Because I think that's the stuff that we would like to know. And the guideline, I know very well that a lot of them don't follow the guideline. So right now, hopefully going forward, they'll be able to follow the guideline. So is
Yeah, if you don't follow
they go
guidelines,
online?
you're not gonna go through your proposals. If you so the guideline is simple and it
Yeah.
applies for everybody, even for and I say this when I say this for everybody. We read our proposals through the submission portal. There's a submission portal and on Mnet's website, just Google Mnet submissions. Click on the icon of the channel you want. There's Mnet, CakeNet, Mzansi Magic, whichever channel you think fits best, because those are very different. We're not the same and the audiences aren't the same. And in that, there's a layout of what is required. And you need to fill all that stuff in and you need to submit all that stuff that's required there. Don't over submit, don't under submit. Anything in between what is required will not be considered. Don't go to the Mnet offices and drop an envelope with your proposal. No one will go through it. It's to protect you and to protect us as well. Because there's a collective consciousness of creativeness and people come up with the same concepts all the time. And so you could easily be talking to me right now and say, oh, Flavia, I have a concept about a girl meets boy, yada, 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 yada. And then after a few months, the same story goes out and you're like, Flavia took my story. But actually someone just had the same, you know what I mean? And so that's why we don't receive any proposals via email, because the submission portal at least helps to track who submitted what when. And it's also just easier because then for us, all we do is we just pull the concepts, we go through it, and it's not a biased thing of, oh my gosh, mastermind sent this, therefore I need to read it. It's another proposal, read it. Does the story make sense? Is there potential for the story to work for our audiences? Yes, okay, call them in for pitch. So it's just to streamline that process. So we go through the portal all the time, and that's the best place to submit, but please do follow the portal guidelines.
Wow, amazing. Nizwilemos, you guys had it. So hopefully they'll do better and we'll start seeing stories all around. Now we're going to move over to now, you commissioning editor, and I know for a fact you no longer live with your mom. How's your mom now since you are working and everything that she's worked hard for? It is you have achieved that and you're gonna achieve more, even more for that. How's your relationship with your mom now?
No, it's wonderful. Me and my mom are good. It's wonderful.
Ne? And it has to be wonderful because now you guys are you achieved even more, in terms of what you wanted to achieve. What's next for you, for Flavia? Just before we wrap it up, what's next? You spoke about what you're doing now, but are you going to be having your own film? What are you going to be doing next? And yeah.
What's next for me is I would really love to see more, Black voices out there, more Black people, Black women being empowered within the film and television industry. And I would love to use, and I am using my influence to ensure that, that also happens wherever I'm possibly able to, I really am also, I have a strong focus and passion for women, sort of like empowerment and equality. And I will really be so happy if sexual harassment is not a thing for women in the film and television industry anymore, and we found ways to eradicate it even a little less. I'll be so happy to see more young voices, be freely sort of given platforms to express themselves. And yeah, I'm just really excited to seeing our stories come out more. So whether it's in our platforms, in other platforms, whatever the case may be, I'm always just going to pursue to see the African narrative thriving in that sense.
Amazing stuff. I've got 2 or 3 last questions. Firstly, it's exciting stuff. How excited were you when you got when you saw the pitch for Gomorrah? Because I saw your name there somehow. how was it like, or how is it like in terms of Gomorrah? How excited were you? And did you know it's gonna be as big as it is right now, even if it's gonna go beyond what it is right now?
So, I mean, every story we receive and we decide to pursue and commission and develop is something that excites us. We are a bunch of really crazy, story crazy people. We love story, the whole team. So, we were all
Yeah.
excited for the story, and there's nothing we really work on that we don't foresee it being big, because we really put our sweat and efforts in it, and we really, want to make sure that it succeeds and our audiences are happy. So we were excited. We knew that that Alex world was definitely gonna grab people and really resonate.
Mm,
And I think we always knew it was going to be great, but I think the talented crew and cast have really taken it to another level, which is even more exciting. It's so beautiful to work with people who
yes.
give everything in what they do, and that's exactly what they've done. And it's so rewarding, and so I'm just so happy that we've got such talented people behind and in front of the screen, and we've just taken ownership of it and just made this production bigger than what it needed to be.
Wow. And how difficult was it for you as a woman to come into the men's world? And as it's usually said, um, was it difficult for you, or you just, came in and everything just went smoothly for you?
I mean, it's still going to take a while for anything to be easy for a
Mm,
Black woman in this country, in this industry.
yes.
So it's always
Hmm.
been difficult. It still is difficult. I'm not going to sit here and lie. But what really helps is having organizations such as Swift, Sisters Working in Film and Television, where women come together and they empower one another. And it's a safe space for women, and there's mentors who can guide you through it. So whatever I had to go through, I'm able to avoid that it goes through another emerging upcoming fellow sister. Um, it's always going to be a struggle being young, Black, female, having a small frame. Um, Everything that goes for me, being feminine in my
Mm,
space. But I feel like, we need more strong female voices in our space in any case. And so I take it with whatever it comes with. And I have wonderful sisters who support me, and I'm also supportive to those sisters. So it's just also having supportive brothers who understand it's difficult, and they are able to also support you and carry you through it. And I have the most amazing um, sort of colleagues, guys and female, who there's no gender when it comes to when we do our work, and they're supportive. And I think that goes a long way.
wow. And the last question would be, we just pitched the hot seat to you. Do we get it? Do we not?
What did you guys pitch?
We just right now we just did it by interviewing you. Do
Unfortunately,
we
I
get
don't
it?
work in unscripted, so I don't know. You should submit your proposal on the submission portal, and then the reality team will let you know.
Thank you very much for your time, Flavia. Thank you very much. I wish you nothing but the best. Next time we do have a conversation, we'll be having conversation. Maybe you're the one running Mnet. Maybe you're running your own production. Who knows?
Thank you so much for your time. Love your work, and I love that you are giving exposure to the youth out there to things that they don't have access to. I think that's incredibly great, and I also wish you all the best with all your endeavors and your different platforms. I think what you're doing is very lovely, and may God just bless you and expand you even more. Thank you for your time.
I receive. May God bless you too. Thank you very much. Good
Ciao,
night.
ciao.
Tap sharp. Wow, man, that was Flavia Motsisi, commissioning editor at Mnet, man. Young Black woman doing extraordinary things, is doing amazing stuff, man. She told you guys all about the process of submitting a show, submitting a drama series, everything else, man. I mean, it's easy, man. Just go to the portal and just submit. Just follow the guideline, guys. do that, and definitely you could be called in for a pitch. And masofia ku pitch, make sure it's been great, it's been amazing. It is the hot seat with myself, Mastermind. Fungubulo retirayiwe lafira mudila kovera mbyam namba ya ufuna iroshaya mubikeli angaba nne ndingwana muthu mudulu wanne malili tanje laweze kunabo Esther mncane mfithu.